Picture the scene. It is exactly 4:47 p.m. on a Friday afternoon.
Oh, the absolute worst time.
Right. Your sales manager is just staring at a screen that says her email account has been locked
Yeah.
with, like, suspicious activity.
Panic sets in.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And the printer in the back office, the one with the final physical contracts you need signed before 5 o'clock, is completely unresponsive.
Naturally.
And to top it all off, the one guy on your staff who actually holds the master admin credentials to the network is currently sitting on a beach in Mexico.
Blissfully disconnected from the grid with a margarita in hand.
Yep. It is literally the ultimate nightmare scenario for a business owner.
It really is. But I mean, what's truly terrifying is just how common that exact sequence of events is for companies operating without a safety net.
Welcome to episode 38 of Cybersecurity Unmasked, the official deep dive series by us here at IT BizTek.
Glad to be back.
So last time on episode 37, we talked all about the break-fix death trap, right? Like why Toronto SMBs are ditching that reactive model in 2026.
Yeah, because waiting for things to break is just fundamentally bad business.
Exactly. So now that we know why that model is a trap, today's mission is to answer exactly when and how you should bring in external IT help.
Right, because there is a very specific tipping point.
There is. So we are going to be unpacking our freshly published 2026 guide, which is called Small Business IT Support, When to Hire External in 2026. We're going to figure out the exact moment a company needs to stop winging it, get out of that duct tape IT phase, and, bring in the pros.
I love that phrase, duct tape IT. It's so accurate. I mean, most small businesses go through this phase where their tech is just held together by, like, favors or maybe a friend's nephew who knows a bit about computers.
And sheer luck, honestly.
Oh, definitely luck. And it works just well enough to keep the doors open, but the underlying structural integrity is just completely non-existent.
It's a lot like the plumbing in your house, right?
Right.
Like if you need to change a shower head or plunge a toilet, you handle that yourself.
Sure, it's an easy DIY.
Right, and that's the tech equivalent of resetting a password or, like, plugging in a new monitor. You don't need a pro for that. But when a main pipe bursts in the wall at 4:47 p.m. on a Friday...
And water is rapidly flooding your basement.
Yes.
Yes.
You cannot be standing there flipping through a DIY manual. You need a specialized team on speed dial.
That analogy holds up perfectly. Because with modern business tech, a lot of founders don't realize they're reading that DIY manual while the water is literally around their ankles.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
The complexity of cloud architecture and security in 2026 means that when things break, they break catastrophically.
Well, before we even figure out when you should hire external help, we need to talk about what the actual options are. Because the IT BizTech guide points out this really dangerous trap.
The illusion of the fourth option.
Exactly. This is where a company just pretends that ignoring the problem is a strategy.
Oh.
Or they hope the office manager can somehow magically absorb cybersecurity duties in their spare time.
Which is wild. I mean, that magical fourth option is exactly how budgets get blown and data gets breached.
Totally.
In reality, especially in a fast-moving market like Toronto and the GTA, a small to medium business really only has 3 structural options.
Right. Let's break those down. Option 1 is solo in-house. That's where you have just one dedicated employee handling absolutely everything technical.
Yeah, and this model can function at the very smallest scale, usually under 10, maybe up to 25 staff members. At that point, the work is mostly just minor desk-side support.
Just fixing paper jams and stuff.
Exactly. But it fractures so quickly as you grow because of context switching. Today, IT requires deep knowledge of networking, cloud, daily help desk, and high-level cybersecurity.
And one human being just cannot be a master of all those domains.
They can't. And their weak spots inherently become your company's unmanaged risks.
Which naturally brings us to the second option, fully external or managed IT services. This is where an external provider takes total responsibility for your environment.
Everything. Help desk, security, backups, vendor coordination, all of it. And this is really the sweet spot for companies with 10 to 60 employees.
Did you get a whole team, right?
Exactly. Instead of relying on one generalist whose knowledge is, an inch deep and a mile wide, you tap into a deep bench of specialists. So mechanically, when a ticket comes in, a triage system routes it.
Oh, like a password issue goes to a junior tech.
Right, a tier 1 tech. But a suspicious login from a foreign IP address instantly gets routed to a dedicated security analyst. You're getting enterprise-level routing on a small business budget.
Makes total sense.
Yeah.
And then we have the third option, the hybrid model. The guy notes this is usually for companies pushing past that 60-employee mark.
The hybrid model is fascinating because it splits the physical and the digital. You keep an internal IT person, but their job shifts entirely to user experience.
So they're doing the in-person stuff.
Yeah, desk setups, in-person training, VIP hand-holding for the executive team. Meanwhile, the external managed service provider, the MSP, operates in the background doing the heavy lifting.
The unseen stuff.
Exactly. Managing firewalls, running the 24/7 security operations center, maintaining the servers.
I want to circle back to that first option for a second, though. The solo in-house person. The guide explicitly warns against this massive pitfall they call the $110,000 mistake.
Oh, it is a painful mistake to watch a company make. Basically, a growing business realizes they have complex needs, right? Maybe they're migrating to a complex Microsoft 365 environment.
So they need a heavy hitter.
Right. So they hire a senior in-house IT manager. They pay a base salary of like $110,000 or more to get those serious architectural skills.
Okay.
But because this person is the only IT staff member, the company also forces them to run the daily help desk.
Wow. So they're paying a six-figure premium for an architect and then making them fix paper jams.
That is the exact mechanism of the failure. You're paying senior rates for junior work. And psychologically, a highly trained systems engineer wants to build and secure systems.
They don't want to untangle cables under a desk.
No. They become profoundly bored and demoralized, and the data shows they will almost inevitably quit within 18 months.
Leaving you with zero documentation and a huge hole in operation.
Exactly.
But I have to play devil's advocate here for our listeners who own businesses. Handing over the keys to your entire digital life to an external team.
Someone you don't share an office with.
Yeah. Wouldn't you feel a terrifying loss of control? Like, isn't there an undeniable psychological comfort in having your IT guy sitting right down the hall where you can literally see them working?
Oh, it's a completely valid psychological hurdle. But you have to remember, visibility is not the same thing as control.
Right.
Seeing someone type on a keyboard down the hall doesn't mean your firewall is patched. And it definitely doesn't mean your backups actually work. True control is structural.
Meaning what exactly?
It comes from published service-level agreements, mandated quarterly business reviews, and a whole team of accountable experts monitoring your environment around the clock, not just hoping the guy down the hall is on top of it.
That makes sense. And I feel like that fear of losing control usually masks a deeper anxiety, which is just the fear of unknown spiraling costs.
Oh, absolutely. It always comes down to the budget.
So let's run the actual math for Toronto SMBs. Because outsourcing isn't just an upgrade in expertise, our guide shows it's often a massive economic upgrade.
The financial mechanics are really revealing when you look at fully loaded costs. Let's take that senior in-house generalist. In the Toronto market, a capable senior IT person demands a base salary between, say, $90,000 and $130,000.
But salary's just the starting line, right?
Exactly. When you factor in employment taxes, benefits, continuous training, the software stack they need,
It adds up fast.
you're adding about 25 to 30%. So your actual operating cost is anywhere from $120,000 to $170,000 a year, just for one person.
Wow. Now contrast that with the fully external MSP option. For a typical 40-person company, a comprehensive managed plan usually runs between $60,000 and $110,000 annually.
Right.
So you're literally slashing your IT budget while gaining an entire department.
And let's break down how that pricing is actually structured in the wild, because you'll generally see two models.
Per user and per device, right?
Exactly. The most common now is per user pricing, running about $110 to $240 a month per employee, depending on how aggressive the security stack is. The alternative is per device, usually $60 to $120 a month.
Why is per user the standard now?
Because modern employees don't just use one computer anymore. They have a laptop, a smartphone, maybe a tablet, and the MSP has to secure the identity across all of those endpoints.
Our guide offers some great real-world baselines. Like, a 25-person law firm might spend between $4,500 and $7,000 a month. Meanwhile, a 12-person creative agency is looking at roughly $1,800 to $3,200 a month.
And those examples perfectly illustrate how needs dictate the tier of service.
Because the law firm has all that sensitive data.
Exactly. Highly regulated data. Their stack requires ironclad document retention policies, advanced encryption, strict access controls.
And the creative agency.
They might only need standard security, but they require massive cloud storage and high bandwidth network support for moving enormous video files around. The MSP tailors the tech to the business model.
Which requires a total shift in how you view that line item on your budget. When you sign an MSP agreement, you have to stop thinking of it as buying hours of labor. You're buying coverage.
Coverage is the crucial metric. Going back to our solo in-house employee, they work roughly 40 hours a week. There are 168 hours in a week.
So that leaves 128 hours where your network is completely unmonitored.
Exactly. If they get the flu, or if they take that well-deserved vacation to Mexico we talked about earlier, your business has a single point of failure. The coverage drops to zero. An MSP eliminates that entirely with 247 overlapping coverage.
Let's expand on the culinary analogy from earlier. Relying on an in-house IT person is like hiring a highly sought-after, wildly expensive private chef for your restaurant.
Okay, I like where this is going.
But this chef only specializes in classic French cuisine. If a customer orders sushi, they're lost. If the chef catches a cold, you have to lock the doors and turn customers away.
And that expensive French chef is definitely going to quit if you ask them to mop the floors at the end of the night.
Exactly. But hiring an MSP is like securing a premium, all-inclusive culinary team for a lower total cost. You get a pastry chef, a grill master, a sushi specialist, and a dedicated dishwashing crew.
A full bench.
Right. If the sushi chef is out sick, the sous chef seamlessly steps in. The kitchen never closes, and you always have the precise expertise you need.
It perfectly captures the operational resilience you're buying.
Okay, so the math and the operational logic clearly favor the external team for companies under 60 people.
Right.
But if I'm listening to this, I'm probably wondering, how do I diagnose my own company right now?
Right. How do you know if you've crossed that invisible threshold?
Exactly. The IT BizTech Guide outlines 6 specific signals, and the warning here is stark. If you are experiencing just 2 of these 6 signals, your current setup is actively failing.
Signal number 1 is creeping downtime. We aren't just talking about full-day outages either.
Just the little stuff.
Yeah. If you track your environment and you're suffering more than 4 hours of total system downtime in a month, like a dropped internet connection here, a frozen server there, you are bleeding money.
Because it kills productivity.
Right. The hidden cost isn't just the minutes the system is down. It's the 20 minutes of focus it takes a knowledge worker to get back into their flow state after the interruption.
That makes total sense.
Mm.
Signal number 2 deals with backups.
Yeah.
If you have a backup system running, but no one has verified it by performing a full test restore in the last 90 days, you are in the danger zone.
The guide has a brilliant, albeit terrifying, way of phrasing this.
What?
If you have not tested it, your data exists theoretically.
Oh, wow. And theoretical data cannot save your business.
No, it can't.
Let's talk about why that happens, though. How does a backup just secretly fail?
So modern backups usually rely on what are called differential or incremental saves. They only copy the data that changed that day to save space. Over time, that chain of data can become silently corrupted. Or worse, modern ransomware is actually designed to lurk in your network, locate your backup drives, and encrypt those first before it locks your live computers.
That's horrifying.
It is. I can assure you, the very first time a business runs a drill to restore their data, it is a highly uncomfortable learning experience. Something always fails.
Right. And you want to discover those failures during a scheduled drill on a Tuesday morning, not at 2 a.m. while staring at a ransom demand from a hacking syndicate.
Exactly. But let's say the ransomware never even hits you, a broken backup is still a ticking time bomb.
Which leads to signal 3, compliance strain. If you are dealing with Pipeta Canada's strict data privacy law or heavy healthcare regulations, and prepping for those audits is paralyzing your operational team, you need an MSP.
Preparing for an audit isn't just filling out a quick questionnaire. An auditor might ask you to produce the access logs for a specific sensitive document over a 3-year period.
Just to prove only authorized staff viewed it.
Exactly. And if your internal team has to spend 3 weeks manually digging through fragmented server logs to find that proof, they aren't helping your business grow. An MSP has logging systems that generate that evidence in minutes.
Wow, what a difference. Signal 4 focuses on the reality of the modern workplace. Hybrid work friction. If your remote employees are constantly battling slow VPN connections, broken video conferencing, or confusing file shares.
Your infrastructure is stuck in 2019.
Yeah.
A classic example is routing all remote traffic through a single aging office firewall just to access cloud applications.
Oh, instead of using modern split tunneling.
Or zero trust architecture, exactly. It creates massive bottlenecks that frustrate your staff daily.
Signal 5 is the one that really caught my attention. Phishing fails. The guide states that if you run a simulated phishing test and more than 15% of your staff click the malicious link, it's time to outsource. But wait, 15%? If almost 1 in 5 employees is cheerfully handing over their credentials to a fake Nigerian prince, isn't that a catastrophic failure of the HR and hiring process? Shouldn't the goal simply be zero?
Well, the ultimate goal is zero, but you're dealing with human psychology. Today's phishing emails are not the poorly spelled scams of a decade ago.
Right, they're much more sophisticated.
They are hyper-targeted, AI-generated emails that look exactly like a real invoice from your specific vendor. A 15% failure rate is a critical threshold indicating a systemic vulnerability.
Not just a few careless employees.
Exactly. It means your internal strategy of just telling people don't click bad links once a year is fundamentally broken. You need an external partner to deploy continuous automated security awareness training.
Sending benign simulated attacks weekly, that kind of thing.
Yeah, gamifying the education process so employees actually develop a reflex of suspicion.
Got it. It's a symptom of a much larger structural disease.
Mhm.
And finally, signal 6, vendor sprawl. If your company is juggling 6 or more disconnected tech vendors, one for VoIP phones, one for internet, one for cloud, website security,
You are paying what the guide calls a massive integration tax.
and that tax is collected in wasted human hours.
Right. Here's the mechanism. Your phone system stops working. You call the VoIP vendor. They say the phones are fine. It's your office firewall.
So you call firewall vendor.
And they say the firewall is fine. It's your internet service provider. You, the business owner, end up sitting on hold for hours acting as a referee between 3 tech companies pointing fingers at each other.
Sounds exhausting.
It is.
Yeah.
An MSP takes over all vendor relationships. If the phones go down, you open one ticket with the MSP and they go fight with the vendors to fix it.
Okay, so let's assume a listener is evaluating their company right now and realizing they hit like 3 of those signals. The decision to outsource is made. The final hurdle is picking the right partner.
Because not all MSPs are operating at the same level.
Exactly. How do you separate a highly competent IT partner from an amateur operation during that very first consultation?
The IT BizTek blueprint lays out 4 non-negotiable traits. The first one tells you everything about their philosophy. They must ask about your daily business operations first, not your software stack.
I love the psychology of that. Tell me how your logistics team processes an order, rather than what version of Windows Server is in the closet.
Precisely. A provider who immediately zeroes in on your software is just trying to calculate what they can sell you. A provider who wants to understand the friction in your workflows is planning to design an infrastructure that actually accelerates your business.
The second trait is published SLAs, or service level agreements.
Yeah.
They can't just promise they are, quick to respond.
They need to legally define their speed. Are they offering a 15-minute response time for critical network down issues?
And defining what a response actually means, right?
Yes. Do they clearly define the difference between mean time to response, which is just a text saying, we got your ticket, and mean time to resolution, which is actually fixing the problem?
Huge difference. Trait number 3 is a meticulously documented 30-day onboarding process.
This is so critical. The first 30 days dictate the trajectory of the next 3 years. A professional MSP doesn't just flip a switch.
They need a real methodology.
A rigid step-by-step methodology, mapping every IP address, tracking down domain registries, securing admin credentials, deploying monitoring agents. If they can't hand you a physical document outlining their week-by-week onboarding schedule, walk away.
Because an improvised onboarding guarantees a chaotic, multi-year relationship.
Exactly.
And the fourth and final trait is pure geography. Your MSP needs to be local. If your business is in the GTA, you want a provider where a technician stationed in Mississauga or Vaughan can physically walk through your front door in under an hour.
Signing with a massive remote national chain where you're just a ticket number on a screen in a different time zone is incredibly frustrating, especially when a physical piece of hardware dies in your office.
Right, you cannot troubleshoot a melted network switch over a Zoom call. Physical proximity ensures accountability.
100%.
Now, touching on that onboarding process, we need to address the reality of the transition period. The guide makes it clear that safely switching IT providers takes roughly 4 to 8 weeks.
It is a delicate operation. The biggest mistake a company can make is trying to rush it. Do not attempt a major office move or roll out a new software system during this window. Keep the environment frozen.
It's basically a high-stakes relay race, right? The new MSP is running alongside your old internal IP person or your previous provider.
Yeah, and if you force the handoff too quickly, before the new team has fully mapped the Active Directory and verified the backups,
The baton gets dropped.
and the network goes dark. You have to give them that 4 to 8 week runway to match the speed of your business before they take the lead. Rushing the baton pass is the single most common reason new IT partnerships start off with a massive outage.
So bringing all these threads together, the verdict from the 2026 blueprint is undeniable. For the vast majority of SMBs, especially those sitting in that 8 to 60 employee range, clinging to a solo IT person or a patchwork of favors is just a mathematical and operational liability.
Moving to an external IT team is simply the smarter, safer, and highly cost-effective evolution.
It permanently removes the anxiety of the single point of failure, eliminates that integration tax of vendor sprawl, and arms your business with a deep bench of specialists.
All for significantly less than the cost of one senior hire.
The ultimate takeaway for anyone listening is this. Waiting for a catastrophic data breach, a multi-day server outage, or a failed regulatory audit to force this decision is the most expensive path you can choose.
You want to dictate the moment you upgrade your infrastructure, rather than having that moment dictated to you by a ransomware syndicate.
Proactive strategy always beats reactive panic.
Because the cost of panic is always higher than the cost of preparation.
Well said. We encourage you to run your own organization through those 6 signals today. If you are dealing with creeping downtime, untested backups, or a frightening failure rate on your phishing tests, it's time to act. If you hit 2 or more of those signals, book a free consultation with us here at IT BizTech.
Let's get you out of the duct tape phase.
But as we wrap up, I want to leave you with a provocative thought about the future of this industry. As AI continues to advance at blinding speed, automating basic Tier 1 help desk tasks like password resets and routine software troubleshooting.
Which is already happening so fast.
Right. So how will the very definition of a managed service provider change in the years beyond 2026?
That really is the deciding question for the next decade of business technology.
Will your employees even interact with human technicians for daily issues? Or will your external IT partner evolve strictly into a high-level strategic architect that orchestrates a fleet of AI agents working on your behalf?
It's something to seriously ponder as you map out the long-term future of your company. Because the technology landscape will never stop shifting, and neither should your approach to managing it.
And the underlying tools and automations will completely transform.
But the fundamental need for a trusted expert guide to manage that complexity and secure your data will only become more critical.
Absolutely. So the next time the clock strikes 4:47 p.m. on a Friday and the digital pipes suddenly burst, ask yourself, are you going to be frantically reaching for a DIY manual and a roll of duct tape, or do you have a team of experts ready to stop the flood? Thanks for joining us on this deep dive. Stay secure out there.